Number 5. Shark dies after attacking Taurus. A group of 4 tourists were cage diving with sharks at Baja, California, more specifically in Guadalupe Island. They'd hired Nautilus Dive Adventures, but could never have imagined the horrifying experience they were about to endure. While shark attacks on the cages are a usual occurrence this time, it wouldn't be as safe as the diving operator had promised. When a great white shark began to bite at the cage's bars, it all seemed to be business as usual. But then the wild animal began to lunge violently, ramming the bars with increasing ferocity. To the shock of the tourists inside the cage, the shark actually got caught between the bars. It struggled to break free, and the water soon became a bloody shade of red. The beast was bleeding profusely. Apparently, the cage's bars were sinking into its gills. This went on for 25 terrifying minutes, while the tourists were still trapped inside. Though the shark managed to swim its way out of the cage, its wounds were too severe. It sank to the ocean floor, succumbing to its injuries. The entire incident was recorded and later uploaded online. Nautilus Dive Adventures was highly criticized both by the general public and environmental organizations. Apparently, the bars weren't close enough to one another. This allowed the shark to swim straight into them. Cage diving is a unique type of extreme sport. It involves diving or snorkeling underwater, with the added security of remaining within a cage. This container is specially designed to prevent sharks, crocodiles, and other dangerous animals from accessing the people inside it. It's usually made of metal and doesn't budge when it's rammed or bitten, even by the powerful jaws of various apex predators. There are plenty of reasons why this sport is practiced and growing in popularity. Some people do it merely for scientific interest or research, since it's a great way of filming underwater with relative safety. The most common practitioners, though, are tourists and thrill seekers. The first such cage was invented by none other than Jacques Cousteau in 1956. He used it to film portions of his critically acclaimed movie, The Silent World. In order to ensure the animals swim close to the cage, several different types of baits are used. This is known as chumming. It can be dangerous for both wild animals and humans alike. Sharks and crocodiles, as well as other predators, might change their usual behavior. Chumming becomes a sort of conditioning that may have them frequenting certain areas and interacting with swimmers. By associating food with humans, this can significantly increase the risk of attacks. Several environmental protection organizations have criticized this practice as it puts the animal in potential danger. Such cages are sometimes also used to aid divers. During descent and ascent, divers might suffer certain symptoms that are associated with the physiological process decompression. This leaves them vulnerable to potential threats, so a cage might be used to aid them in making the journey. Number 4. Frannie Plumridge. 26-year-old Canadian tourist Frannie Plumridge decided to enjoy a vacation filled with adrenaline. She traveled to Crocosaurus Cove in Australia and booked a cage diving experience. Plumridge wanted to get up close and personal with a crocodile. Her entire experience was recorded, and it's arguably terrifying. Plumridge, however, managed to remain calm throughout the whole encounter. The massive beast swam up to the plastic cage Plumridge was protected by. It stared straight into her eyes and then violently bit the cage's surface. The crocodile attempted to break the plastic but was unsuccessful. Crocodiles are known for biting their prey and then either drowning it or swallowing it whole, depending on its size. If the plastic had yielded to its jaws, Plumridge's life would have been in extreme danger. Instead of panicking, the Canadian tourist was fascinated. She took advantage of the proximity to the 17-foot reptile and observed its teeth, scaly skin, and terrifying eyes. Plumridge enjoyed being so close to what she referred to as an ancient creature. Plumridge was no stranger to danger. In the past, she was once followed by a grizzly bear as she was hiking. The woman was ultimately grateful for the unique experience this encounter granted her. by far, the most popular kind of cage diving is done around sharks. It's reported that both great white sharks and bull sharks are sighted with greater frequency by those who practice this sport. There are several spots around the world where tourists, cinematographers, and scientists alike can practice cage diving. The most popular location is the coast of South Africa, especially the areas of Gansbaai and Mossel Beach. False Bay also welcomes cage divers, but there are stricter rules in place. Operators can't use chumming to attract sharks. Mexico's Guadalupe Island has also become a coveted destination. Even though there are sharks present in other areas of coastal Mexico, the activity is restricted to this area to avoid further affecting the local fauna. Another incredibly popular destination is Australia. It's considered that this activity contributes $11 million to the national economy. Neptune Island offers a particularly unique experience. The cage is actually immersed onto the ocean floor. Those participating must provide diving certification, but there are also surface alternatives for those less adventurous. There are fewer cage diving alternatives involving crocodiles. One of the most well-known destinations is the Cage of Death in Darwin City. The cage is dropped into the water by an overhead monorail, and it can host up to 2 people. Reptile enthusiasts can also travel to Cape Town or Victoria Falls to enjoy this experience to the fullest. Number 3. Cinthia Span. Cinthia Span got more than she bargained for when she booked a crocodile cage diving experience. Her destination of choice was the Darwin Crocodile Park. The Dutch tourist imagined she'd get to spend a few minutes face-to-face with a massive reptile. Her allotted time not only doubled, but tripled. She ended up spending a full half hour trapped underneath the water, with a giant crocodile swimming around the cage. The reptile in question was called Prince William, and it kept circling Span during her entire ordeal. In the beginning, when the cage wouldn't go up, she didn't care much. The woman had been looking forward to this experience and enjoyed her extra time. But as the minutes ticked away, she began to panic as she started feeling trapped. The cage was small and the crocodile was really close to her. Span wanted out, but the cage was stuck. In order to help her escape, the facility's workers had to drill the top of the cage off. Her friends cheered and sang to her, in hopes that it would ease Span's ordeal. She was also given water and chocolates to alleviate her stress level until the hole was big enough for her to be safely removed. Though Span was unharmed, she was emotionally affected by the encounter. As of the recording of this video, no lawsuit has been filed. Today's topic was requested by Ryan Turner. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. The truth of the matter is that cage diving has its risks. There are plenty of security measures taken, and it's far safer than actually swimming alongside crocodiles and sharks, but being maimed or killed is still a genuine possibility. Crocodiles and sharks are predators, and they also attack when under stress. A cage floating around the water can be stressful for any wild animal. This is especially true when they're beaconed towards the diver using chum. Even if the animals surrounding the diver don't gain access to the cage, there are plenty of other problems that can arise. Reckless behavior is more common than one would expect while participating in this extreme sport. There are people who don't follow security measures and end up being hurt. Another risk is decompression sickness. Though it doesn't occur during surface practices of this sport, it's possible during deep diving. This sickness occurs due to increased nitrogen presence in the victim's blood flow. It's a condition caused by high pressure. This concentration is turned into bubbles when the pressure is decreased. So if the diver attempts to return to the surface too fast, it could be highly detrimental for their health. Though symptoms usually include exhaustion and pain in the muscles, it can potentially be lethal. Number 2. Unnamed Tourists. Once again, incidents at the Darwin Crocodile Park put the lives of divers in danger. 2 unnamed tourists booked the attraction known as the Cage of Death. In it, they got the unique chance of spending a few minutes submerged next to the crocodiles. Unfortunately, as the cave they'd climbed in was lowered into the water, something went wrong. The cable connecting the enclosure with the operator snapped, dropping the pen harshly inside the tank. Patrons of the park later testified they heard a loud bang. This was actually the cage hitting the bottom of the crocodile's enclosure. A large reptile then swam around it, lurking close to the terrified Taurus. Staff reacted quickly, bringing a ladder down in order to rescue the two people locked inside the cage. The park was keen to remark that it wasn't a major incident and that it was handled quickly. Both tourists managed to escape the brush with death unscratched. The cord was fixed and the attraction reopened. Unfortunately, this wasn't the only incident the park had encountered when it comes to the cage of death, as we discussed in a previous entry. The most basic way to survive this experience would be to make sure to follow all instructions. It's fundamental not to anger or stress the animals swimming around the cage. It's also a bad idea to try and reach outside the enclosure. Though this isn't a risk in glass cages, some metal containers could potentially allow reckless divers to stick their limbs out. Always remember that sharks and crocodiles are predators, and they might react violently to stress. They might also view divers as prey and attempt to attack them. Following all given instructions and avoiding potentially risky situations is the best way to survive. If you are attacked by these dangerous animals, seek immediate medical help. It can make the difference between life and death. When facing an emergency underwater, it's important not to panic. If divers attempt to return to the surface too fast, they expose themselves to the risk of creating bubbles in their blood flow. There are two types of decompression sickness. The first one, as mentioned before, is non-lethal but highly painful. However, it shouldn't be disregarded as an ordinary joint pain. Type 2 decompression sickness can actually damage vital organs, such as the brain or the respiratory and circulatory systems. This can lead to long-lasting adverse effects, such as neurological problems, paralysis, and even death. Lastly, it's vital to hire a professional, trustworthy dive operator. Though most companies are highly reliable, this is not the kind of activity where you should search for a bargain. If the operator isn't careful and the equipment isn't well maintained, the experience can turn into a disaster rather quickly. Before we continue, official They Will Kill You merchandise is now available at theywillkillyou.com. Stop clowning around and check it out, because your purchases really help support the channel. Number 1. Nancy Lasuzo. Nancy Lasuzo decided to try cage diving during her trip to Guadalupe Island in Mexico. She recorded the whole experience but never imagined she'd capture such shocking images. Her adventure started normally enough. The cage was lowered into the sea and Lasuzo, along with the others inside, waited. Soon, a great white shark got close to them. It swam around the steel cage, and once it was on top of it, brutally attacked the enclosure. The shark in question was roughly 17 feet long, and it began to violently thrash the cage. It started shaking it as Lasuzo and other tourists were trapped inside. The shark had actually managed to scrape the side of the cage, but eventually gave up on trying to destroy it. The cage was sturdy enough to resist its massive jaws. Lasuzo got a front seat view of its violent attack. The footage is blood-chilling, but fortunately, Lasuzo and the women who accompanied her were unharmed. They were soon lifted up to the boat. She decided to upload the video and received an astonishing amount of replies and reactions online. The company in charge of the experience shared the video as well and praised the women featured in it for their bravery. Thanks for watching. Would you rather go diving in a flimsy cage or jump off a plane without a reserve parachute? Let us know in the comments section below.